Ashley, take me through this story, because I started the hour with it because I think you're right. He's uncharacteristically quiet about this milestone for the country, 100,000 families never to be the same because they've lost a loved one. In lots of cases, I know this from doing obituaries every day, it's a grandma and a grandpa, a mom and a dad, because of the way the virus spreads, and really not much from this president.
Yeah, the human toll is just devastating. And we started this piece from the frame of this is a president who, is enthralled to the numbers. It started with his wealth, then his ratings, then his poll numbers. But with this virus, he has very much chosen a pick and choose approach. As you just quoted, the numbers that work for him, he'll mention the stock market when it's going up. He would mention the number of cases early on when he wanted to try to dismiss the virus, saying there's 15 cases now, it's going down to 0. Of course, that's not the case. But we were struck, especially the 100,000 death mark is such a grim milestone. And the president really had no plan to grapple with it. There was no moment of silence, no moment of shared grief. It was the exact opposite of what you just showed from Vice President Biden. He did have the flags fly at half staff over Memorial Day, but in talking to people inside the White House, they really had nothing planned. And a lot of people who know the president and his critics as well say this is about the president's inability to be empathetic. All presidents are supposed to play the role of consoler-in-chief, mourner-in-chief. Vice President Biden is perhaps particularly well-positioned, having lost 2 of his children and his first wife. Empathy is something he does incredibly well and incredibly authentically. And it's just not somewhere where President Trump is comfortable or really even able to go. And it was just so striking as we approach this very grim milestone.
Ron Klain, the campaign obviously looms large, but this feels like it's about a bigger kind of choice. I mean, being able to talk about grief is being able to talk about when you were on your knees. And his description of the black hole that feels like it's going to suck you in. Anyone who has lost someone they love knows that that's it. And there's nothing muscular about it. There's nothing you can spin away. That's it. But the way beyond it, the way to rise again, as George Bush has said, is through that grief. I mean, is Joe Biden feeling like there's a bigger opportunity to do some of that, leading the nation, whether these people are going to vote for him or not, but through our grief, through our moment, and maybe sort of finding his footing as our comforter in chief while Donald Trump sort of abdicates that part of his job?
Well, look, Nicole, I think the difference between these two men, these two candidates for president, just couldn't be starker. And it's the difference in both doing the job and decency. Reporting today that President Trump still doesn't have a testing strategy to help us get out of this COVID mess. 40 million Americans lost their jobs. That's all because of his botched response. And I think Vice President Biden has a plan to do the job and to get this disease under control and fix the economy. But the second part of that, as you said, is decency. It's just how these two men interact with the American people, with loss, with tragedy, with character. And over the past 72 hours, as this nation's approached and passed this milestone, the president's been at war with Twitter about fact checks. He hasn't really addressed our pain. He hasn't taken any responsibility. He hasn't really offered an apology to these families who've lost a loved one. Many, as you say, grandparents and grandmothers, grandfathers, many of them fathers and mothers and sisters and brothers, a lot of younger people too. And I think Vice President Biden's ability to speak to that, I hope, heals the nation even in the middle of a campaign, and obviously would be one of the big assets he would bring to the White House.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.